Hello, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be playing some mono white auras in standard best of one. The ladder is going to be restarting here on Magic Arena in just a few days, and I know most of us are going to be looking to climb back up to Mythic as quickly as we possibly can. And what better way to do that than with old, reliable mono white auras? It's been a long time since I played this deck, so I thought, you know what, it might be good to revisit it, expose it to some of the new players that may have come with TMNT. Some people may not know the absolute raw power behind this deck, and it is also a budget-friendly deck for those players. So it seems like a valuable revisit to me. I'm going to talk ever so briefly about the deck and then hop into some games so you can see how it performs. But of course, I have to ask you to support the channel, sub up if you haven't done so already, like the video, and then of course, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of auras, if you hate it or if you still trust it. Now, the deck is pretty simple. We have our creatures. We kind of have 16 base creatures over here. All of these creatures work very well with auras or are just really good threats. Then we have the most helpful Weaver, which creates a 2/1. So we're kind of rocking 20 base creatures. Then we have our auras that are either going to protect or pump up our creatures in this column right here. And then we have a couple of support cards, Seam Rip for a bit of removal, and Shelter by Ghost because you know this card is insane. I didn't want to spend too much time talking about the deck because it is pretty typical stuff, but I did want to hop on over to Untapped to look at some stats, and we can see that this deck is in fact still popular. 54,000 games on the most played version of the deck, 58.8% win rate. Now, I am going to be playing this version of the deck in this video, which is playing 4 copies of Lightstall Inquisitor instead of the 4 copies of the Veteran Survivor. Now, if you're looking for a more budget-conscious version of the deck, definitely go with this one. Veteran Survivor is an uncommon card, whereas the Lightstall Inquisitor is a rare. I haven't seen or played this deck with the Lightstall Inquisitor, so I thought, you know what, let's see how this one can roll out. But this is probably a pretty good bet. But more importantly, I wanted to look at what the archetype matchups are like. And if we look at the win rates, we have a very good win rate against decks like the Monuments decks. These ones are playing the cool but rude, trying to discard stuff, burn us down with that 2 damage ping, and then hit us with a pretty good size creature. Well, the thing is, a card like Shelter by Ghost, you get this on the field against one of these decks, and they simply cannot keep up with the life gain that you're gaining from the Shelter by Ghost. So Shelter by Ghost is going to be an all-star in this matchup in general, and then overall this deck is pretty fast, so I think it can kind of roll over these decks. Same thing if you end up running into mono red aggro, they just can't keep up with the life gain, they can't keep up with the big like 8/8 vigilance flying creature that is just slamming your face. The other one that was really surprising was the mono green landfall deck, and if you're anything like me, you've come to kind of hate this deck simply because it takes so long to play against. They have so many triggers and they're constantly going on the stack. Well, if you're playing a mono white auras deck, maybe you can just roll over them because you have such a fast start. They kind of have a little bit of a build up stage before they really pop off. You can take advantage of that and just run them over. Also, pretty good matchup against Lessons. Maybe you take out their key pieces, you take out a Monument, you take out their 2 CMC enchantment, and then you can just keep hitting them for a bunch of damage. And then, of course, in this matchup, I guess Shard Mage's Rescue is probably an all-star. If you can blank some of their early removal, then your creatures can kind of get to a point where they have a hard time outside of Combustion Technique of removing your creatures. Now, what do we have a hard time against? Well, of course, as you go down the list, you're going to start running into your control matchups. You basically want to avoid Day of Judgment and Starcage Pinnacle, anything that's going to easily wipe out your creatures. So try to avoid, if you can, Azorius Control, Jeskai Control, the Artifact stacks, your Jeskai 4-color, Jeskai Black, 4-color control, whatever you want to call it. Spelementals, if they start throwing out crabs, you could be in trouble. But you can see like these matchups are relatively low, and that's why I think overall this Auras deck has a pretty good place. Oh, Untap's broken. Oh, there we go. Why it has a pretty good place in the meta, because for the most part, you're going to be running into the decks that you actually have a pretty good matchup against. And as you kind of go down into the lower percentages, don't know what's going on here Untapped, lower percentages, you run into fewer of those games. So overall, the deck is very well positioned in the meta right now, and it's also budget friendly. So 8 rares or 12 rares for a deck that's nice and reliable, hey, can't complain about that. So let's hop into some gameplay and see how mono white auras actually feels on the ladder, pre-ladder restart, and then maybe we'll decide if it's a good one to take onto the ladder. See you over there. Sirius is up first. Playing mono white auras. It has been ages since I played this deck. I honestly can't even really remember the last time I played it. But opening hand looks absolutely fantastic. It would always be nice if you had a 1 CMC creature, but going out with a Wonderweave Aerialist with the Ward 2 on turn 2 is pretty awesome. Opponents can have a really hard time removing it. Of course, they can, you know, some opponents, quite a few opponents can remove it by turn 2. Hex is definitely a thing. So if the opponent has 3 mana and a Hex, they can get rid of it. So you do have to be aware your creatures are not completely invulnerable, but that's the way the game's gonna go. We have Duress playing a very beautiful version of the Duress from the Strixhaven special set, I guess. Pretty cool. Hey, we find our turn 1 creature, and we find the Lightstall Inquisitor. It's one of the cards that I wanted to see off the top of my deck because I want to test this card out. This thing is pretty interesting. When it enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand, and they may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, but each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast, and if it's a land, it enters tapped. We are against, of course, they played they played a Duress, they played the Intimidation Tactics, they have the Authority of the Consuls. We are, of course, matching up against dun 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 a control deck, which is what I said I didn't want to face, but here we are. Okay, we can go a Most Helpful Weaver. It gets another creature on the board. I guess that's kind of fine, and then we get the triggers to start putting damage on the opponent. Hey, they fixed it. Since the last time I played it, this card was all broken with the graphic. The full art wasn't really working properly, so that's kind of nice. The opponent up to 3, potentially 4 mana for this turn, so we have to be aware of maybe Day of Judgments. Well, I was gonna say, what? They're playing red? That, when it came down, I thought it was definitely a mountain because of those red clouds. So if we do get hit by a Day of Judgment, things are going to look pretty bad, but they instead just throw out an Ajani, and so the Ajani is up to 4, right? Okay, throw it onto that thing, and if I use the Shelter by Ghost on the... Oh man, how much do I want to commit to this board? I think it's probably okay. I use the Shelter by Ghost on the Kithkin. I can send the Lightstall Inquisitor in at the Ajani. I'm taking a big risk here, but the thing is they are down to just 1 card in hand, and the Authority of the Consuls in exile. That's not such a big deal. Their Planeswalker is now gone. We have a double striker coming next turn, so we are technically presenting lethal. They need the Devious Cover-Up. Oh, you love it. You love it, right? Oh man. Some people truly do live in fairy tale magic land. The opponent hit the untapped land, or they hit the Ultima, one or the other, for the board wipe to save them. Congratulations. Did you find more wonderful interaction? Serious? No, they just hit the Authority of the Consuls. Oh my god, it's still... some people, I'm telling you, there are some people in this game whose accounts are truly blessed. What, we hit a land? We hit a land? We hit a land? So, I swear, if the opponent finds more action here, I might just... Okay, alright. I mean, Optimistic Scavenger, not bad. I'm dead. I'm so dead because the opponent ran incredibly hot and we drew 6 lands. That we had a little land pocket while the opponent goes land into their board wipe, into the Get Lost, into the Elspeth. GG opponent. Maybe that's an early scoop, but I you know what? They earned it. Their account was flagged for a win. I love saying it. It's okay. I love talking the conspiracy talk. Keep in mind, I don't believe any of it. It's just, I think it's very fun to spew out that idea of conspiracy chit chat. Holy moly though. Man, let's imagine you're a player who's been having a little bit of a bad run, and then you run into an opponent that's running that hot, and then you run so badly. Woo. Ooh, that's gonna throw you into the biggest tilt ever, and you're just gonna be like, I'm not playing this game anymore today. I'm done. Let's go load up something else on Steam. Let's go for a walk. Something along those lines. Okay, we are against, again, another control. Oh, not control. It is maybe Kavaro. It is a Kavaro. So it's a Kavaro deck, which means they probably, well, I guess they do have enough interaction, and they also have the Deceit. So now the Deceit could, in theory, bounce my Optimistic Scavenger. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to play out the Spellbook Vendor. We're not going to put the Sorcerer roll onto the Optimistic Scavenger yet. We're going to hold up the Shard Mage's Rescue. 5 lands, by the way. We're 20 land deck, and we've drawn so many lands in the first 2 games. Can we maybe not draw another plains? I know they're beautiful, gorgeous plains in the sky, but I would prefer not to find another one. Okay, if we find like an Ethereal Armor off the top, we are pretty close to maybe killing them next turn. Okay, we don't need to fire off things yet. Okay, Spellbook Vendor, pay the 1. We'll put it onto the Spellbook Vendor, I suppose, and we get our counter. So we'll go in with 2 4/4s. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough gusto, but there is the Ethereal Armor. What do they got in the graveyard? Deceit and Kavaro. So I think it's probably okay to go Lightstall Inquisitor, because I think we want to be able to kill them next turn. We'll tax down one of their things. If they hit us with the board wipe, they hit us with the board wipe. Like, I don't know. That's just, I think if our creatures get wiped in this situation, we're never going to bounce back. So if things get hit, but they're on, this deck would be on Deadly Cover Up, which is 5 CMC board wipe. It's not going to be a thing. So they need to have a Kavaro to hit the Deceit. There's the Formidable Speaker, and we run them over. So even though our deck didn't run, I mean, it ran pretty good. Okay, let's 5 lands is fine, but we actually hit kind of very well with our creature to aura distribution there. It's such a shame that this deck hasn't received any new cards for so many sets. Really, like, I don't even know what the newest, like, is it Edge of Eternities stuff? I guess Spider-Man came out after Edge of Eternities. But I don't think there are any cards, certainly not any cards from TMNT in the set. And Lorwyn Eclipse, I think, also did not contribute anything to the set. Okay, we are against the tempo type deck here. The thing that's scary against this deck is that they do have Seam Rip. Seam Rip does really, oh man, scare me. I'm gonna go in with the Lightstall Inquisitor. They never block here. 2 damage in. I think I'm gonna run out the Aerialist because I'd rather load up the Shelter by Ghost onto the Aerialist. Something that's a little bit more resilient against what they're doing. There's the Seam Rip. So if we had put out the Shelter by Ghost, we would have gotten punished big time there. That's pretty good. So Optimistic Scavenger to the field. I think it's fine to go Wonderweave Aerialist, take the Momo. They can still have a Seam Rip plus a land next turn to hit the Wonderweave Aerialist. That would be pretty bad. That's why I put the +1/+1 on the Optimistic Scavenger, just to spread out some of my stuff here. But instead it's a Springleaf Drum. If they don't have a land, oh my goodness, opponent is in kind of bad shape here. So Feather of Flight enters. We get a +1/+1. May as well put it over here, and we draw another card. It's fine. I think this is fine. If they spend next turn hitting the Optimistic Scavenger with a Seam Rip or something like that, then we just kill them with the Wonderweave Aerialist. So we should be in okay shape. And that's just the thing about like this deck is, if the opponent stumbles ever so slightly, which they did with their lands, then things just get out of control really quickly. They have the Get Lost to get the Momo back, but we have a backup Get Lost. Now we have map tokens that we can crack. Like, they're still kind of dead on board. Yeah, the deck definitely takes advantage. Oh, I was counting my chickens before they hatched, right? We're still fine because what we can do is this. They are effectively at 6 life because they would gain 2 from the Sage of the Skies. So we get 2 6/6s before the map tokens, and that's how you run over this deck. Had this game, had the opponent gone first and had the opponent not missed a land drop, this might have been a different game though. So you really got to take advantage of those first like 5 turns. But what I can definitely say, if you are a newer player and you're picking up this deck, be very careful around seam rips. If your opponent's playing white, I think white is probably like this deck's biggest opponent, because white, you're going to have your Day of Judgments, you're going to have your Starcade Pinnacles. That's what it's called, right? You're going to have the seam rip, you're going to have the Get Lost, which can hit X them, which can hit your auras. White has a lot of resources against this auras deck. Black also, because they have very cheap removal. Bad news. If you go up against mono green, you can kind of just go ham and not really worry about things too much. But yeah, and then red is a tricky one. If you can grow your creatures just outside of the range of like 4 toughness, I think maybe they have a seer. A lot of them probably 3 toughness is where they are mostly comfortable. 4 starts to be hard, and then 5 toughness, I think they just like, they need 2 spells to remove that creature. We're against black again. Man, we are running up against a lot of opponents that are playing heavy interaction. Oh, okay. I actually played against a deck yesterday. It was a Orzhov Bats. Oh, Baron Senger. Oh, it could be. It's probably the case. This is a very thematic deck. It's an Orzhov Bats life gain drain deck, and it's very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see if that's what the opponent's do. It is what the opponent's doing. All right. Well, they gain a little bit of life. This Essence Channeler is going to be smacking us down. And we did find the Spellbook Vendor. Do I want to go Feather of Flight to keep getting in damage, or do I want to go with the Spellbook Vendor? If I go Spellbook Vendor, this sets me up for a better turn next turn, I think. And I am going to put the Sorcerer's Roll onto the Lightstall Inquisitor. And I'm going to put the +1/+1 here as well. And I'm going to attack in with the Lightstall. If they want to trade, I think it's actually pretty good. I'm going to keep that on the top. If they want to trade Lightstall Inquisitor for the Essence Channeler, I'm super happy about doing that. If they want to use their turn removing one of these 3 creatures, I'm also not so upset about that. But if they don't, if they like spend a turn establishing a board like that, then our situation is going to be really good going into the next turn. Yeah, like we're just cooking. So we use the Seam Rip, we smoke the Essence Channeler. Let's put the +1/+1 counter on the Spellbook Vendor. And I think I'm actually okay throwing the Ethereal Armor on the Optimistic Scavenger. This gives me 3 very good attackers. I slam in, we have the Shard Mage's Rescue to protect whatever they try to remove on the following turn, and the Feather of Flight to roll them over. I would have been interested to see if they put the Dark Confidant under one of my creatures on the attack there, though. So quite similarly to the mono green deck that I played the other day, this deck is playing out in the same fashion, just kind of pumping through the games. Fast action. Games are won. I mean, I kind of feel like we're almost in a place with Magic where 2 people can come up to the table, they draw their 7 cards, they put them onto the table, and they just say, "What do you got?" And then that's it. You just go from there. It's fine to attack in. I don't think they have a 1 CMC flash creature. But yeah, just put your cards down. Everybody looks and they're like, okay, you got me. And that's the game. Ooh, Bounce Off. Bounce Off is actually kind of bad. So Spellbook Vendor allows me to attack in with the Optimistic Scavenger, and if they end up using the Bounce Off on the Optimistic Scavenger, like it's not such a big deal. Okay. That's fine. So we still have this Spellbook Vendor on the field. They're going to take a turn to stock up. This opponent is playing probably a combo centric deck. I don't know what their game plan is exact. Kona? Is it Kona? I don't know. Okie dokie. So we're going to start attacking in now. We have the Shard Mage's Rescue as protection for things. If I go Optimistic Scavenger, I can get in with a 4/4. If I go in with the Wonderweave Aerialist, it's going to set me up better for the next turn. So I think it's Wonderweave Aerialist. We take this time to put the +1/+1 Sorcerer's Roll onto the Spellbook Vendor. This also gives us a Scry. We don't want the planes because we already have 5 of them. No more of those, please. We might, if they just slam Kona here, Omniscience though, we might be in trouble. So they had the interaction, Spell Snare plus Bounce Off, that it slowed us down enough. Okay, well, Scavenger to the field. This time we can go Spellbook Vendor onto the Wonderweave Aerialist. Let's see, they don't have any interaction. What is the opponent holding? Hey, we get a double Scry. Ethereal Armor's pretty good in this situation. So we went Lightstall Inquisitor into Ethereal Armor. Can't complain about that. Are we gonna get Aetherized? No, okay, thank God. My heart kind of jumped a little bit there. I definitely thought maybe that was the situation. We were getting cheeky Aetherized by Cow. Imagine that world. I think I'm okay throwing the Lightstall Inquisitor on the field. It's not gonna do anything. You know, it's gonna tax 1 card, but it's mostly irrelevant at this point in the game. But it still does something. So they have the Bounce Off. Their Bounce Off costs 2 now. If they don't have the big Omniscience play here, then we might be okay. But there's the Kona. Let's see if they actually have the money card. We can't do anything about it at sorcery speed. No Omniscience, please, no Omniscience. Oh, okay. Voice of Victory, don't care. Formidable Speaker. Oh, that's bad because they throw away that, and what do they grab? It is the Northwind Avatar, and I think now it's GG. So be aware of the combo here. Meringue River Regent, they grab, yes, the Northwind Avatar with the Meringue River Regent. They bounce the Northwind Avatar. They do all this kind of stuff. They have the protection with the Voice of Victory, and we're not going to make our opponent play it through. You might lose to combo if you play this deck. I think that's just the way it goes. But we had our chance. I think had the opponent not had the Spell Snare and that early interaction, maybe we could have had a faster turn, like 4, where they stumbled a little bit. They put out the Uthros, or they put out 5 mana and they didn't do anything. It's possible, but they did have the Bounce Off sitting there. They didn't have the Shard Mage's Rescue. Maybe there was a world. Next one. I know it's gonna sound like sour grapes, but I don't know why Omniscience is still in the format. Why does it still exist in the format? It's just such a like, it's fine. I guess if people want to play that kind of combo deck, like, okay, give people a combo deck. But just, it's so boring to play against. But play more interaction. That's the key. At least in best of 1. I don't know. I don't want cards like that in best of 1. I'm sure most people agree with it. It's just kind of boring. Ooh, Bandit's Talent. So that means we're probably getting our hand attacked, and our opponent is probably taking the Feather of Flight here, right? They're gonna have plenty of interaction for us, so we are in a lot of trouble. I'm gonna go out with the Wonderweave Aerialist first. It's gonna be a pretty good card to start loading up with Chapter 2, Chapter 3 here. If they cannot get up to 3-4 mana to remove our Aerialist with the Ward 2. They throw away a Duress. There's a Shoot the Sheriff. So of course, removal plenty. But now, with the Shard Mage's Rescue, that gives us a little bit of breathing room, and now the Wonderweave Aerialist can be a pretty good double striker very soon. If they use some of their removal here on the Wonderweave Aerialist, you know, we save it, we blank that, we could be in really good shape. They are down to 3 cards. One of them is irrelevant. This card is, we don't care about that, really. I say right now, and I probably get into some trouble with that later. Okay, Feather of Flight. let's put the Feather of Flight onto the Spider to get 2 good attackers. Land is okay. We'll play out the land. It's fine. We'll attack in for 6. And now we are going to be... I don't know. Was the Feather of Flight on the Wonderweave Aerialist actually better? Because that would have presented a better attacker, double strike attacker next turn. But we have the Shard Mage's Rescue. Oh, yeah. Ouch. So, little did I know it was actually putting it onto the Wonderweave Aerialist, because now we're actually 1 damage short. I need a draw. Need a draw. That's a draw. That's a draw. They could still have a hex for the Spellbook Vendor. Okay, they didn't do it in time. So had they had the hex for the Spellbook Vendor, we wouldn't have been able to get the +1/+1 onto the Wonderweave Aerialist. It doesn't matter. We got 10 damage on them. I don't think there's anything they can do here. 10 damage. Let's go, baby. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, I forgot what that card does. Oh, no. Time to get blown out. No. Okay, if they have land into board wipe, oh my goodness. Hey, did you know cards have so much text on them these days? They print so much. Oh my god, start your engines. That's one ability. Sacrifice something. Then it can do something. A card that has 3 different abilities for 2 mana. Fire Design. Did you know that apparently Fire Design, I looked it up. I was talking about it with a friend the other day. And so I happened to catch a glimpse of what Fire Design stands for. And I don't know if I knew this when it first came out, but apparently it stands for fun, inviting, replayable, exciting. Fire Design. What do you think? What do you think? Hollowed Fountain from the opponent. That means we're going to get hit by a Get Lost. Where are all the creature-based decks? We want to find the Rakdos Cool But Rude decks. We want to find the mono green decks. We want to find mono red decks. So far, this is game 2, 4, 6. This is game number 7, and I have not run into a single one of those good matchups yet. Where are those good matchups? Okay, Voice of Victory from the Azorius deck could mean that we are up against a Aang Tempo Flash type of deck. Kind of where... Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Whenever 1 or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 toy artifact. Wow. Some people play cool stuff, and I do appreciate it. We play lame stuff. We're going to use the Optimistic Scavenger here. Let's spread it out a little bit. Eat up their 1/3. Voice of Victory, bye-bye, and we hold up the Shard Mage's Rescue. Next turn we get double strike, so if things go my way, probably lethal on turn 4, but if things can definitely swing not my way very, very quickly here. Let's put it on to the Optimistic Scavenger. We'll give the Optimistic Scavenger Flight. That's enough damage, right? That's just 14 damage. Opponent has nothing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Dollmaker. That's such a cool deck, and we come here with our lame stuff and just roll over the opponent. Yeah. So although it is an Azorius deck, it's the Azorius control decks that you gotta watch out for. I think if it's a creature-based deck making Dollmaker tokens, you're gonna have a good time playing the Auras deck. All right, we're gonna squeeze out 3 more games with this Auras deck, but I guess it's kind of running as you would expect. Ooh, here's a little bit of a funky hand. Bad hand? Bad hand. If this is a Cub deck, the Seam Rips kind of... I mean, the Seam Rips don't even do that much. Especially with a 2/1. I think you kind of throw that one away. I think that's a bad hand. This is just a better hand. So we have our interaction. Do I throw away the interaction, or do I throw away maybe the turn 1 light stall? And it's so hard in best of 1. I'm going to throw away the light stall. I've actually not been overly impressed with the light stall Inquisitor. I think if you are playing this deck, you are plenty fine playing the Recruiter. Well, should have kept the light stall Inquisitor, but who could have known it was going to be another control matchup? My goodness, control oriented decks are where we're at right now. Hello. Why did I find this pocket of opponents? Hey, Dimir it is, with main board duress into the deceit, stripping away. I don't know what it, honestly, all three of them are pretty great cards. They take the optimistic Scavenger, so a land off the top would have been pretty good there. I'm gonna go with the Spellbook Vendor. Set up for a turn next turn where I can at least put a Sorcerer's Roll onto the Wonderweave Aerialist and hold up one of these once. Oh, gosh. All right. Wow. What an opponent to run into. All right, we get to at least tax one of their things with our Lightstall Inquisitor. We tax a Swamp, not great. But if they have another Momentum Breaker, at least we have cannon fodder with the Lightstall Inquisitor here. So they play out the Swamp, of course, why not? And we just got to keep trying to chip away at them. This is Bandit's Talent. Yikes. So that means that they're going to get... You don't like to throw away an Ethereal Armor, but I think you have to throw away an Ethereal Armor in this case. Imagine you are the opponent and you see the opponent throw away that card. You have to start to wonder, what is the value of this card right here? I'm not going to play out the Plains because I know they're attacking my hand with things like the Bandit's Talent, so if they do have a second one, I want to be able to keep the Shard Mage's Rescue at the ready. Furdock Core, another Momentum Breaker. Oh no, is this another Pinkerton situation? We have been running pretty well. Yikes, oh no, no. Okay. Cash Shield is the final boss apparently, coming in with 3 momentum. Okay, good game. Oh, all right. I get it, Wizards. You can't win too many games in a row. I understand. You have to even up that win rate to 50%. All right, let's try to do our best to not run into any more mono black assassin opponents. Opening hand looks pretty good. Imagine I kept the Lightstall Inquisitor Seam Rip hand. That would have been even more disastrous. Like, we had a pretty good mulligan into 6 there, but ooh, double momentum or triple momentum breaker with the hand disruption. Boy, oh boy. Burst Lightning, torch the tower from the opponent. Okie dokie. We found our red opponent. Let's see if we can also... this is the token making red opponent. This deck has become so popular nowadays. Lots of people running this one. So I can obviously attack in with that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Spellbook Vendor onto the field. And then hopefully try to aim for getting the Sorcerer roll onto one of our creatures that's attacking in. And that way we can maybe start scrying some lands to the top or some protection spells, something like that. We'll see. Okay, land is good here. So we do get double strike. We may as... You know what, let's put it on the Spellbook Vendor. It's okay. And we will put out the Plains. So from here, I can go pretty hard on the opponent, but I think probably it's better to use the Sorcerer's Roll on the Spellbook Vendor just to get a little bit of information. We're going to attack in with both creatures, get a Feather of Flight. Could be good for the future. It could be the thing that kind of ends the game for the opponent, because they're not going to give us a good lane on the ground. I think by putting maybe another most helpful weaver onto the field, it gives us some bodies, and then with the Feather of Flight, potentially with the double strike in the future, or even just with this ethereal armor, we might be able to get that last 6. Ooh, shocking. Okay, well, we have the seam rip for it though. We might be able to sneak that last little bit of damage in. Okay, actually, I'm kind of thinking next turn I kind of have to go for the win. So if I go seam rip, ethereal armor, sorcerer's roll, I think I have enough damage with the spellbook vendor. I definitely have enough damage with the spellbook vendor. So this is actually kind of a close situation here. We are taking a lot of damage, and had, you know, if the opponent had just a little bit more time, we might have died. Okay, so we do this. Hang on. I think I counted too much. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I thought I could do everything, but I can't do everything. So let's use the seam rip on the... I kind of want to use it now on the stadium headliner. Yep. And then we put the ethereal armor onto the 2-1 here. And then we put the sorcerer's roll on the 3-2, and we attack in a way that forces them to chump block with their entire board. We would take them down to, I don't know, maybe 2, probably. They would block both of these ones, I would assume. I don't know, whatever. We get in for 4 damage, and then they're going to have no board. So, all right, to the surprise of literally no one out there, this deck is still really good. We ended up going 7-3 with the deck. The games that we lost, number 1, opponent running super hot and our deck drawing lands. Other one was a combo deck that got an omniscience on the field, and then the mono black assassin that was sent to murder us with their momentum breakers. You're not going to have a very good time when your Shard Mage's Rescue isn't able to stop your opponent's removal. Overall, the deck is fantastic. I think after playing a very small, limited number of games, just 10 games, the Lightstall Inquisitor, I think it's better than the Veteran Survivor. I think overall it's better, but it is such a small advantage that if you are not willing to craft the Lightstall Inquisitors for the 4 rare cards, the downside or the slight upside of the Lightstall Inquisitor, in my opinion, is so minimal that you just run the Veteran Survivor. It is fine. In fact, the Veteran Survivor against your Crevaro opponents is going to have a little bit of an upside. It's not huge because you still got to attack in, and the Veteran Survivor is very vulnerable. It could get hit, but it does have that slight graveyard interaction that you might want in some matchups. But I think being able to tax your opponent's hand, this card is one of those cards that's very hard to evaluate because you never actually know how much damage you're doing to your opponent. If you play a game like Marvel Snap, for example, there's a card called Iceman. Iceman is a 1 cost card. I'm going to talk in Magic terms for that game. He's a 1 cost card. You put it on the field. He taxes one of the cards in your opponent's hand for 1. That can really throw off your opponent's curve, but you don't really see the effect of the Iceman because you don't know now how the opponent has to change their game plan. You only see how they played out their cards, and it might seem like the Iceman didn't really do much, but there are a lot of situations where I get Iceman and it literally destroys my turn 3 or turn 4 play, and it makes me do things 1 turn later in a 6-turn game. So the effect of Iceman on the opponent's hand is absolutely massive in some cases, but you don't really see it, or it's not as apparent as it might some other cards might be, where you might, you just play Seam Rip, for example. Oh, I use Seam Rip to get rid of the opponent's optimistic Scavenger, for example. That's a very noticeable interaction that had a huge effect on the game. Whereas taxing a land, it might not seem like anything, but maybe the opponent only has like 1 or 2 lands in their opening hand, and they end up choosing to tax one of those, and it throws off their curve a little bit. Some situation like that. You don't notice it, so you don't know just how effective the Inquisitor is actually being. But I think overall, probably taxing your opponent's cards early, turn 1, turn 2, has a pretty big effect on the overall outcome of the game. And since we are such an early game deck, having that little bit of an advantage probably makes a big difference. Additionally, having Vigilance, not something to sneer at. You know, if you end up loading this creature up with some optimistic scavenger +1/+1s, or if you put maybe like an ethereal armor on it and it ends up getting up to like a 5/4 or a 6/5, something like that, and it's attacking in and it's sitting back on defense, that's another pretty good thing. Now, of course, it is vulnerable to things like Seam Rip or Hex, but in the end, what isn't vulnerable to that in our deck? Literally everything. So I think the Lightstall Inquisitor is better. And when we do look at, do I still have it over here? When we do look at the stats, 1.1% better overall win rate with fewer matches though. So maybe if this deck ended up playing 54,000 matchups, this number might come down ever so slightly. But I think probably the Lightstall Inquisitor is worth putting in the deck if you have it. However, if you're a new player, you're just looking to start with this deck, just throw in your veteran survivors, get used to it. And if you end up really liking the deck, you could spend the rare wildcards to craft this. However, Spellbook Vendor, I think, is a non-negotiable. A Most Helpful Weaver, also a non-negotiable. You must craft both of these rares. And so that makes this deck an 8 rare deck for the amount of power that it has. Chef's kiss. It's pretty amazing. So that is that for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about me going back and revisiting decks that I haven't played for 2 or 3 months, decks that are very well situated in the meta, very powerful decks, and just like checking up on them, seeing, hey, is this deck still good? Or did you see that I was playing mono white auras and went, oh, I don't want to watch this video, and you did end up watching it because you're here listening to me talk right now. Thank you for sticking around even though you had those feelings. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Thank you to all the AbojiiMTG fans out there. There are a few of you. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. I appreciate it. That's it for this one. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Sarange ipuna, and I'll catch all of you in the next video. Bye-bye.